Am I doing this bit?
Yes.
All right. So yes, so we've got to wing a chair because we've had Tim chairing for the CCHL components, and Tim isn't here. I would like to move that Councillor Cotter become chair.
Yep.
So aye. Lee.
So who was the second on it now? Sam can be. I don't know if he can be. Please.
Um,
On this one?
No, just moving the chair.
That's only appointing a chair.
It's not complete.
Yeah.
Right, so this brings us to item 12. Christchurch City Holdings final statements of intent.
So I've got Brian and Matt over here today. Any questions? I did want to just open the discussion with reminder that the SOIs are about the strategic intent of the board in achieving the outcome that it's tasked to achieve. And that paragraph 3.3 in our report, in the staff report, talks to the changes that CCHL has made to its SOI following council comment on the drafts. And from there, I would take it read and ask for questions, please.
Question, Sarah.
Thank you very much. I've just got a question on that kind of responsible ownership piece, and especially when it comes to Orion at the moment. So someone's flipped me through, and I can't read the whole article because I don't subscribe to the National Business Review, but they've got a headline here with some text on Orion funding dividends with debt, and there's a piece where it's talking about, firstly, that they're approaching the Commerce Commission to be able to increase lines charges to fund infrastructure, which we know we need, absolutely. But then there's $25 million worth of additional borrowing and a $25 million dividend payment. And from my perspective, borrowing should be for the infrastructure stuff. And I'm just wondering if for the pressure we put on with the dividends beyond what was originally intended in this start is having an impact, and what impact that has on the ability to do the infrastructure for the city and potentially then on lines charges for residents.
Yeah, absolutely happy to answer that. So there is a lot of debt funding being taken on by Orion as part of its forecasts over the next 5 to 10 years as part of funding the assets and reinvestment in the network and broadening the network in the Canterbury region. So that is absolutely a given. In terms of the position with respect to debt and dividends, what we're really focused on is having the right capital structure for Orion long term, and we're really comfortable with its pathway to get there, and therefore the dividends have been set at levels over 5 years. So it's not that useful to look at this in just a 1 year context, but we're setting dividends for. So Orion is setting dividends, and we've discussed the pathway with them that gets them to the right balance sheet over time. So it's appropriate for what they're trying to do.
Does it have an impact on what the Commerce Commission might think about their investment levels and the ability to, for example, increase fixed line charges? So that's when we look at the good for city approach, costs to consumers, those kind of things, not just dividends to council.
I can't speak for him. I guess at a reasonably technical level, using debt is a cheaper source of funding than using equity, and so over time that's actually a good way to fund the assets and a cheaper way of funding the assets than using a fully equity funded balance sheet. So, but we really was getting down a bit of a capital structure.
I'm just thinking, like, if debt for dividends though, as opposed to, if we needed the extra $25 million or the half of that or whatever it's passed through, then then actually would it be cheaper for us to borrow that money than for Orion to borrow it? You know, how does that work?
So Orion can, fund itself very attractively in capital markets, and has done for quite some time. So that in itself isn't a problem. So accessing the funding, the $25 million or what have you, but it's really about, don't look at it in a 1 year context. This needs to be looked at over a horizon, particularly with customised price path and the horizons. They're really looking at 5 to 10 year pathways, and comfortable with the balance sheet structure of Orion in the future. And getting
Councillor Templeton was asking, how's the Commerce Commission would review?
And I can't really speak for them in that view as to the very common across the industry, particularly for the larger EDBs, to utilise significant balance sheet gearing as part of our structure. So Orion's not an outlier there, and if anything, we've probably run a reasonably conservative balance sheet for many years.
Yeah. And are any of the other subsidiaries using debt to help fund dividends?
So again, I guess we're not using debt to fund dividends. Even in the case of Orion, they are profitable and are funding dividends from their profits over the next 5 years, and using that as a means to pay us. There is increased borrowing going on at some subsidiaries. Certainly at Christchurch Airport, they are borrowing over the next 5 years or looking to increase their borrowing. But that is funding investment in the airport and the airport precinct. It's not being used as a means of funding a dividend. An unsustainable dividend is what you're probably getting to.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, that's a good answer. Any other questions?
Just one, and it's probably just on that. I just, for benefit of people watching, do you want to just talk through how a dividend is earned and how it's paid versus the capital programs that sit within companies? Because I think that's the nature of the question, which is, we're clearly not borrowing because we make a profit. But actually, if anyone's watching, I think we should just be really clear. It's no different OPEX, CAPEX. So just for the benefit of not Sarah anyone, but just the benefit of the public watching, how you make a dividend, how you get a profit, and how you pay a dividend.
Yeah, absolutely. And all our companies, as reported previously, are having reasonably successful financial year 25, and we forecast for that to continue into FY26 and beyond. Dividends are set in a variety of manners, ways across the portfolio. At different policies, whether it's a percentage of profits in some cases, it's based around the outlook over a longer period of time. Just depends on the business model for the respective entities and their reinvestment needs. But there is a substantial borrowing program. We touched on it at Orion, but that relates to a large CAPEX program. I wouldn't put the dividends that we've forecast in the context of special dividends, as council has asked for in the past. These are dividends that are paid from normal profitable operations, and certainly at CCHL we pay out a percentage of what we receive, and so it's paid from CCHL profits, the dividend back to council ultimately.
Great. Good 101. Councillor Johansson.
So just interested in what feedback CCHL gave to LPC over their statement intent in terms of the industrial relations and seeking improvement.
Yeah, so we did not just LPC, but we've had engagement with all the subsidiaries post getting the council feedback in April, and we're conscious of the focus on engagement as part of that, and not just staff but community and all stakeholders was raised as part of that discussion, and so the feedback's certainly been taken on board by all entities, and we've committed to adding a SOI target within the CCHL statement of intent regarding our engagement on that front with the subsidiaries, and we'll look to bring regular updates back to council in FY26 regarding that. Specifically with respect to LPC, I think the numbers have gone from 4 targets to 12 targets with their whanaungatanga outcomes. So they've certainly taken it on board in terms of the focus that council would convey to them as part of that.
And do you think it's acceptable that they reduce the engagement targets in the SOI, given what's happened over the past year, given the industrial relations, that their response is to effectively reduce the target?
Are you referring to the change in the forecast targets for the engagement
Yeah.
score? Look, I think it's appropriate that they're reset at achievable, realistic levels based on a number of factors: the industry they operate in, the recent results, what else might be going on. So there's no point having a target that is, a stretch beyond achievable. I think we need to set these at appropriate and reasonable levels based on where the entity is at the time. So, I can't quite speak to the exact nature of whether how much the target's decreased by. I think we might be talking 2% or something like that in terms of the engagement score. I think it's actually pretty subtle. But it's less about the target and the commitment to actually improving it over time. I think is the focus from me.
I don't know if you heard the deputation this morning, but if you look at the statement of intent for LPC, both the previous one and the new one, it talks about culture. We believe working collaboratively for both people and for the business. We will build on work already done with our union partners to seek an environment collaboration delivers improvement outcomes and participation. And yet at the same time, we've had a finding that CEAs have been breached to the extent that the relationship between the unions and LPC is essentially defined as cooperative and collaborative. Such features have been notably absent in the manner by which restructuring has been developed. And there's a number of other comments in those findings around good faith not being adhered to. So given that we've had that adverse finding, given that we've got words in the statement of intent, both the previous one and the proposed one, how can we get a different engagement? Like, what is it that we need? What direction do we need to give to LPC that talks to an improvement rather than a deterioration of the condition?
You can speak to
Welcome, Brian.
Yeah, it's look, there's actually going to be a limit on what I can say in any forum at the moment, because there are matters. So I'm going to keep it brief. I believe they're absolutely committed to strong relationships with all stakeholders as part of this. There are a number of findings in previous decisions which noted the quality of the proposals that have been put up. So I don't think it's just a one-way take on this, but I didn't hear the deputation that was presented earlier, so I can't really comment to.
Word like bare minimum, taking a legalistic approach, unilateral decision making, not involving the workforce. I mean, these are all things that are pretty fundamental against what's in the statement of intent. And what we've been asked to do today is receive a statement of intent which effectively says that these things will happen, but they're not happening. So what I can't understand is, why do you have basically an identical statement of intent that you had from last year or from the last triennium being asked for us to receive, when actually it has no bearing to what's actually happening there at the moment. And it sets a target of decreasing engagement with the workforce, when everything in the wording says that we should be trying to improve it.
I think we need to be mindful of the current change environment that's been that all parties are finding difficult to navigate. I would note in the deputation and comments of Mark Wilson that he spoke to the environment that previously been very collaborative, and that was strained at the moment. And he also mentioned that there had historically been an approach where the management and the union would work together on challenges, and where those challenges were too substantial, he noted that those issues were parked. Herein lies the biggest problem. This is the underlying problem, that the issues, the big issues, have been parked, and they have been parked for many, many years. And the sorts of change that the port is going through at the moment have been undertaken at all other ports around the country. The most recent port to undertake those changes was the Auckland 25 years ago. So it's important that we recognise the environment at the moment is strained, and when relationships break down, there's always issues on both sides of that. And I think we just need to give the port, the management, the union, the time and space to work through these matters together. They both have appeals pending. So I think we just need to give them the time and space to allow those matters to be worked between them, and what is a very difficult environment.
So given what you've said in the response to the question, why is that not reflected in the statement of intent? Like if there's a complete different approach now, it's not reflected. I've read verbatim the wording from the previous one and the current one. It's almost identical, and it makes no reference to doing things differently. Makes no reference to both the approach that we've both been told from the unions that's occurring and from the members. So as owners, given that we've responsibility, what is it that we need to try and recognise try and get people working together?
Well, I think
the
that council's been privy to a briefing from the port chair and chief executive and chief people officer. Right. And there was some insights and information in that briefing that I think it gives you some understanding of the complexities and the challenges that are being dealt with at the port by all parties. It's very difficult for the management, it's very difficult for the unions, and they're having to work through that. The statement of intent reflects the best intentions of the company in response to council's direction, and that's where we're going to get to. Lyttelton Port Company board and management are committed to getting to a constructive and positive relationship with the unions. It's very difficult at the moment because they're dealing with some substantial legacy issues. And they have to see these things through in the interests of a safe port and a high performance, which is something that we all want, and I know the ratepayers of Christchurch would expect.
I mean, it is difficult, Yanni. There's two sides to the coin, and it's undergoing a process at the moment. I mean, we have given direction. What you're asking for is how can we strengthen that? And I think.
Well, I think what I'm asking for is transparency in the statement of intent that talks about the approach that will be taken, not the approach that we've actually accepted previously that hasn't been adhered to. And we've only got the finding from the Employment Court relatively recently, Employment Relations Authority. It's pretty clear, and until the appeal is resolved, then that's the law. That's not us. That's an Employment Relations Authority making that determination. Yeah. And I guess what I'm concerned about is that, like the statement of intent is not reflecting actually what's happening on the ground. And actually, as owner, let's try and find a way forward, which is why I've put some additional resolutions to try and work this through, rather than having the kind of he said, she said, and acrimonious things that end up in court. So
okay, we'll move through the questions, and then I think we'll adjourn and not. So who have we got next? Celeste.
Thank you. Might be for you, Matt. It's just a quick follow-up around for Ryan on page 314. Just want to understand a bit better around the it says that there's declining returns after tax for the following years, but the dividends are remaining the same.
Hey Phil, are you filling out for me?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, wow.
314.
Group performance target.
So there have been some changes. Sorry, I can't find the exact reference, but there have been some changes to the Ryan SLI draft version. They've pushed out some of the capital expenditure future years. So readjusted the profile of the capital expenditure, so it's not necessarily a reduction in that. That will we'll get a lesser return on our assets because we have fewer assets. We'll get the same return, but against a smaller asset base. So there will be some changes there, but if that misses the question, I might have to take that offline and actually pick that up as part of a specific.
It'd be good to understand that because there's no information there, but it's basically saying returns are, I mean, we don't know that you're providing, but it says that we're getting these back, but we're getting the same dividend. So be concerned if we are expecting a dividend on declining performance. So it would just be good to understand that better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's more to it.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not representative of the
elements of
report.
complexity and telling them
Yeah.
about bottom line impact number.
Yeah,
then
that's
there
right.
are,
And picking up on
appreciation changes and legislation changes that have occurred this year.
That's
So
right. Yeah, and sorry.
B wants to add something.
I think, Steve, but there's a significant capital program of investment with Orion, which will up their capital base and therefore their depreciation, which I think means the net profit is reducing. Is that correct?
that is potentially a big element of it. But exactly what's changed, I'll
Yeah.
probably have to just find.
So therefore, if the net profit's declining, are we still in a good position to borrowing to fund the dividends, or should we be looking at readjusting those dividends based
We're not
on?
borrowing funds. We don't.
Okay, we've just been through that. We won't,
Not-
it's just the 101. Thanks, Celeste. Tyrone.
Just back to the port, so in noting Brian's comments just on the Port of Auckland last port before Littleton to sort of shift away from the port person model, but I guess perhaps the counter to that is that since Roger Gray became, and Roger obviously being a very popular and well-liked former CE of the LPC, since he moved to the Port of Auckland, he's really radically embraced that high performance, high engagement model, which is less hierarchical and more inclusive and more, much more engaged with the front line. And that's really seen a real high uptake in the improvement in performance at the Port of Auckland. And it feels to me like we're moving in the opposite direction at the LPC.
I think that's absolutely where Littleton Port will go once we get through these fundamental reforms. Auckland's already been through the fundamental reforms, so they're building a high performance, high engagement program on top of a solid base. We don't have that solid base, so we have to undertake these fundamental reforms. And once we've done that, we will build a high performance, high engagement model at Littleton Port Company, which will achieve the very things that you and Councillor Johansson are concerned about.
Right, so are we up to adjournment?
Just one question.
Yep.
Yeah, I've tried to seek this information. I think I've been told that it's not a matter for us. I've tried to find the performance versus the target information around engagement in the last 10 years for the port, for example. And I'm surprised that it's really difficult to find that information. In our report, we published shareholder council's role at governance level with the SOI performance targets presented to reflect the strategic focus. The performance targets evidence whether the CCO has completed or is on track to complete the activities in the SOI towards delivering against its strategic targets. So how do we measure the performance against the targets, and how do we have confidence that there's a move to improve those targets? And then I guess the question is, and then what remedy do we have if those targets are not being met?
I guess just on the concept of the targets, the last couple of years have a higher degree of transparency than ever. I don't think the engagement scores were ever reported in years before that, or certainly weren't set as targets. They may have perhaps been reported to council, but they're not in the SOIs because they were not just SOI targets. So we do have those. They're transparently in the SOIs. Yeah. And I'm not sure whether that was, they just didn't put in the SOI targets or whether they were done on a different basis. I can't really comment. It's going back a long way. But I think what you should take from the targets that we've set, there's an absolute intent around all of this. And I don't think you'll find you'd struggle to find another entity with more targets in this area than LPC as a CCTO operating in New Zealand in the current environment. The 12 targets they've set is in excess of any other CCTO in the group. And I think it's a level of granularity that we wouldn't find elsewhere.
Right, but the question is, how do we know that they're meeting those targets?
We report them to you.
So well, I asked for the information and I've been told, I think that it's not appropriate for us to ask those questions. So I asked for the
So-
10-year trend around engagement.
And I guess, as I've said,
Obviously.
we've only been capturing that data for the last 2 years in the current form, and it is transparently reported. If you go back, it was done on a different basis. It wasn't part of SLI targets, so I just don't have like for like information to share with you on that.
Can we get the trend with the recent targets then? Just
Yeah, we've absolutely happy to share that, the numbers that have been reported to you previously. We're happy to bring that.
and what happens if a company doesn't meet those targets? Then what's the remedy? As shareholder, what's our recourse?
I'm not sure what, that's a matter for you as council. I don't know. It's for us to suggest to you what your remedies might be.
Right.
What does the CHL do, for example? If a company's on this target, what do you do to ensure that it gets back on track to meet the target?
There's probably various ways to address things. And what I'm going to do now is call for break for morning tea. till 10, and we'll look.
Yes,
Thank you.
councillor Benson's proposed some amendments which we'll look at during the break. Come back.
Okay, so 11:10, thank you.
It's already halfway there.
Just
It's outrageous.
it's crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
You can see it.
Now, we're going to roll these resolutions into the other resolutions. So Yanni, you're going to move these, I assume. I'm happy to second them to get them on the table. I'll give councillors a couple of minutes to read those.
Can we see them?
Yeah. To remove more contentious parts, that's very reasonable.
The committee.
I'm on the way too.
Could I see them too?
I'll read them, councillor Harrison Hunt. That the committee notes with concern the decline in industrial relations at LPC and the ongoing legal disputes over employment matters. 6, that the committee notes with concern the proposed reduction in engagement targets within the new LPC statement of corporate intent. 7, that the committee requests a meeting between the chairpersons of CCHL and LPC, the mayor, deputy mayor, and the local Banks Peninsula councillor, the branch secretaries of the RTMU. And 8, that the committee reconfirms its desire for LPC to work collaboratively to improve employment relations in accordance with the statement of corporate. 5. Are there
Cool.
any?
And that's all in order, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any questions on that around the table?
Those amendments be put separately.
Yes, so
Oh, no, I can, sorry, when we come to put it, I can put different parts of this separately if people wish. Aaron,
yeah, so does this help with the process? Not affect the process or hinder the process?
That,
Yes, questions, both of you.
I think the amendment was 7
Yep, the meeting.
is I note that it's a request, and we'd have to take that on notice. But just, I'm not convinced at this point that that would be helpful. And I think that we've also got to be careful that we're not undermining the governance and management of the port and trying to step in and help.
okay, so just to, sorry, just Brian's reply there. So a question for staff, legal, would a meeting at number 7 be undermining the process that's ongoing at the moment?
I'm not sure that that's a legal question. Probably not.
The only question that matters is it in order? Clearly it is, so let's vote.
Okay. You obviously think that's in order. Yep.
Substance, it's not a legal question in terms of the way it's asked.
Aaron, did you
I've got
have
a question whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'll wait.
James?
Thank you. Is the intention of CCHL to act as the buffer between the commercial and the political?
That's my question, sorry, yeah. James just asked. It's certainly been described that way in documents in the past, both formally and informally, I believe.
It's not.
Yeah, and mine was probably to our council staff. I'm just trying to understand how 5 and 6. I mean, I know they're just noting, but I'm trying to understand if you take the concept of the paper, we're advising comments, if any, on the SOI or Eco Central, but we're not advising comments, we're just noting. So it seems more virtue signalling than actually doing anything. I'm just trying to understand what, is that the intent, or are we actually trying to change something?
Well,
It was a question to staff.
Resolutions on many occasions, and this one is an order.
Yeah.
And it is potentially just council or the committee.
So they're noting as opposed to
decision.
Yeah, and it is a signal.
So we would, so it's not amending anything, it's just signalling publicly.
You decide to do.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not, I feel like it has sort of been addressed, but it's around point 7, around what the ownership / shareholder looks like in regards to the relations with CCHL and LPC. I think it's been answered, so it obviously is in order, and I'm trying to see if it reflects, you know, the structure that's currently in place, because I do see that CCHL are looked at as a buffer, but I'm not sure if there is policy that says so. Would Helen, would you be able to chime in on that in terms of point 7 around what that looks like?
It's not the legal matter, as Elizabeth said. It's not something that the organisational staff would recommend happens, but it is a resolution that can be put if the.
So you can just choose which way you want to vote on.
It doesn't say what the meeting's going to do or say or dictate the meeting. It's a meeting that the committee can request it. The LPC and CCHL can decide they don't want to progress with that. It's not something that we would recommend, but it is not something we can say as our.
Throwing it out there. Yanni, you've got another question?
Can I just clarify with staff? If we wanted to amend a statement of intent today, are we able to do so?
For you, you can note comments back around amendments that you wish to have made that then go back to be considered by through CCHL and ask that the statement of intent be so to reflect those comments as the process for amendment.
Right. So Sam's concerned that this is virtual signalling and not doing anything. We could actually amend 5 that the committee notes to CCHL or expresses concern to CCHL. Would that be the extent of what we could do if we wanted to formally?
I don't think it was a concern, it was an observation.
Yeah, it was should have been part of debate really, but I think
just like I'm happy to amend the statement of intent. I mean, I didn't think we were able to do that today. So
you would.
Statement of intent is their document.
Yeah, I don't think.
okay, so we'll just leave it.
Linda, have you got some advice?
It's not for you to amend.
Statement of intent couldn't be amended by the council today. If there was a proposal that the council wanted to modify it, we would want to, we would recommend that we give advice on the implications of that process for doing that. And, but potentially a better way through is for any comments to be provided to CCHL and for them to consider whether they would would be able to accommodate them or not.
Yes, because this is in response to our letter of expectations, the CCHL's statement of intent.
Yes.
So that would be, if we wanted to do that, I think, I don't know if I'm right here, but that would be another process that you pick up after this.
It would be another process if the council wanted to modify these.
Outside of this meeting today. Yep. Okay, so I think, Yanni, you should just leave that where it is, advice. Are there, on that, Andre?
Thank you. Yeah, just as staff mentioned some concern around timings, I just asked the mover if you'd change it to that video requested meeting when appropriate. It doesn't put a deadline on it anyway, but that's sensible to me.
What did you want to put on there? When appropriate? Yanni.
Without prejudice as well, if you want. If you feel-
Pardon?
You could put without prejudice as well, if it made people feel more comfortable.
Oh, you always get prejudice, right?
In terms of the without prejudice comment, this isn't a situation that.
Inappropriate rather than take. If it is appropriate.
Okay, so I think we basically there apart from some spelling. Oh, Aaron,
Yeah, I'm just with these changes having come up today, some of the suggestions around them, I'm questioning whether this should potentially lay on the table until we have a briefing on the structure that the council put in place for owning its companies and how those companies are run, so everyone understands our role. Decide on our statements of intent. Because some of the stuff that's been raised today would have me, if I was a member of the public, questioning whether the council's fully understanding
okay, so we're
the
not,
structure and why we have CCHL, which
Yep,
we spend a
okay.
lot of money on.
thank you, Aaron, but
every
we
year.
are not deciding on a statement of intent. We are receiving a statement of intent. It's CCHL statement of intent.
Yep.
If you want to have a workshop, we can do that as well, but I don't think that's a reason to lay this on the table today.
Okay, I think we should
To
have a
keep going.
workshop on the structure of,
Maybe that would be a good thing after the elections for a new council to make sure they're
might be a few.
formed and on the right footing.
Proposed induction schedule.
Yes, thank you. You could note it down. All right, so I think we're there. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Yanni. And okay.
Can I start off by saying that I'm incredibly proud of our city and the assets that we own, and the work that CCHL and our companies have done over many decades to provide us with such a strong platform to deal with the challenges that we encounter as we grow. We are one of the happiest cities in New Zealand, and that provides a huge amount of good work from people involved in many different aspects of our city's life, right? But what I find really disappointing is the way in which, just within the space of a very short period of time, there's been concern around the decline in the industrial relations at LPC. I went to a public community meeting without any expectation of what I'd hear just under 3 years ago, where the workers and the port management were singing each other's praises in public, talking about working together to get good outcomes for the city. And I was so heartened by hearing that. You know, things at the port haven't been perfect in the past. There's been breakdowns before. I distinctly recall there's been picket lines where people have actually, sadly, tragically, been killed by people driving through a picket line. I never want to repeat that in our city again. The way in which we as governors have oversight of our council companies is through the statements of intent. We gave the feedback, and I've been reading through what the end statement of intent is based on our feedback, and was incredibly concerned to see that the engagement targets have been reduced. On top of that, the wording in the statement of intent is actually really good. So despite the fact that they're saying that they're going to work collaboratively to foster engagement through the celebration of LPC values and seek to increase staff engagement, the targets have been lowered. And the issue of working collaboratively, despite it having a really good description in the statement of intent, saying things like, we believe that working collaboratively will lead to better outcomes for both people and the business, and we'll build on the work already done by union partners to seek an environment where collaboration delivers improved performance outcomes and problem solving through good faith consultation. We've ended up with an employment relations authority finding that basically says that there's been a breach to the extent that the relationship between the unions and LPC is essentially defined as cooperative and collaborative, and such features have been notably absent in the manner by which the restructuring proposal has been developed and presented. LPC's approach is also, in the narrow circumstances described, not in accordance with the wider good faith duty owed of the parties seeking to be active and constructive in establishing and maintaining a productive employment relationship. I'm trying to find a way forward where we can work together, get people in a room to sit down and talk through what the issues are and find a better solution than having to spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in expensive legal fees, having this ongoing industrial dispute. There surely is a better way of getting us all on a table, getting people around a table, talking through what the issues are and working a plan forward to solve these issues. It says it in our own statement of intent that LPC have provided, and yet what we're seeing on the ground is not matched, I believe, in reality of what's actually the expectation. It is perfectly within our right as council, in terms of our governance structure, to set performance targets in the statement, to have monitor at a governance level the statement of intent at a performance level. And that's what my resolutions are simply seeking to do. It's noting concern that the targets are not being met. It's noting concern that there's an opportunity for improvement that hasn't been met, and that we should try and aim to find solutions to do so. So I think it's entirely appropriate to do this. And hence I've proposed the amendments. You know, I don't think it's constructive to have public deputations and private briefings and a whole bunch of stuff happening in the employment court without us as the shareholder and the owner, again, facilitating a way with the mayor, the deputy mayor, the local councillor, with the organisation, the management and the workers to try and work through these issues and come up with a better solution. So that's the intent behind my amendments. I hope that you'll support them. There is nothing to be lost by supporting these amendments. There's everything to be gained.
Alan.
Yeah, no, I'll just back up a couple of things Yanni said. You know, there's really no harm here. You know, you can call it signalling if you like. It is sending a signal. It sends a signal that we are concerned about the state of industrial relations at the port. And it's not good enough for us just to wash our hands and go, oh, well, we have CCHL. They'll be the sole and only buffer, and we just won't take any matter or mind or wash our hands with any considerations on the port, one of our strategic assets, and actually employs hundreds of people in this city. So I think what is proposed is moderate, it's sensible, it's entirely appropriate, and I think there's no harm in supporting it.
Councillor Fields.
No, also speak in support and just add to what my colleagues said, and just add a community perspective, acknowledging the fact that, yes, we do have a governance role and there is a separation with CCHL and appropriate boards and that, but I'm also the Christchurch City Councillor for Banks Peninsula, and I represent the people in my community and the people of Littleton, and I talk to people every day in Littleton, and recently I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people in Littleton, and all I ever hear regarding the port is concern about industrial relations there and how it's impacting the communities. And I talk to people in the cafes and the bars, on the streets and the shops and the restaurants, and they are all concerned about how things are working down there. And that is a community issue. And if it's a community issue, then it does in fact impact on the people of Christchurch. And that's why we need to be able to do the things that we need to do. And that's why I'm going to support these this amendment and these resolutions.
Aaron.
Yeah, it's a little bit awkward with this being talked about in the public domain. It feels like half the information the public is seeing some of what's going on. They got to hear a deputation this morning. Then they get a very measured response from the representatives that are here now over this. I just wish, and I hope someone from the media puts in an application to the council to get the information that we received, because if we're open and transparent, we'll share it. The information we received as a council, because the public of Christchurch are shareholders in that port, and quite a number of them don't want the port sold. So they have the right to know what we heard in that briefing last week. So the sooner that goes out into the public domain, I think it would be a lot better and clearer for the public to know what's going on, because there's...
They may want to sell it if they do. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. They might. No, there's plenty that don't want to sell it. There's some. An offer was made to the union themselves to be the shareholder with their retirement fund, and they weren't interested in buying it, which was a little bit of a shock. So, what's that?
They
They already own it.
We do.
Yeah, but a high performing port, they would get an even higher return on their retirement fund, so that would make more sense to own it.
Auckland's going well.
But
Okay.
so my point is that there was information that we received as a council that the public have a right to hear, and the sooner that that's out in the public domain, I think it should be for Christchurch and for our assets. And there's a reason why we have CCHL, and it'll be good if that's explained to the public as well as the councillors quite soon.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to put the resolutions. So I thought what I'd do is maybe put 1 to 4 as a block, and then I'll put 5, 6, 7, 8 separate, each separately. Okay, so putting 1 to 4, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. 5, all those in favour say aye. So hang on,
It's fine.
You need to do division
on 5.
Oh, just the whole lot.
On that bulk,
Whole
we'll probably do the bulk of the others.
1 to 4, there wasn't anyone opposed, was there?
No,
Sorry, staff, could you please put the screen back up on the
just
computer?
5 to 8 would be better.
All right, 5.
Sorry,
Please
can I
don't.
check, are we doing each 5, 6, 7, 8 separately? or
Yes.
is it together?
separately.
Separately, okay, so 4,
Just a minute, Councillor Harrison Hunt, are you up with the play?
Yeah, I am now. The
Okay, so
screen's
we're
been
doing a
shared, thanks.
division on, and we're going to put 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, all separately. Okay, so 5. Can you just over to David?
okay, so councillor Peters.
So maybe just read the resolution out so that people online.
Just please.
I can see the screen, Yanni, it's all good.
It's all good, okay. Although we do need to see the screen.
Oh, so can you move this across?
Yeah.
Maybe just do it up. Yeah. And I'll do this nice and slowly, so my. So councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Fields. Yeah. Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Donovan.
Yes, from me.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Aye.
Councillor Henstock.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Goff.
Yes.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Keelan. Councillor Barber.
Yes.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes.
The Mayor.
No.
Councillor Templeton.
Aye.
So we have 2 against and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Resolution 6, that the committee notes with concerns proposed reduction in engagement targets with the new LPC statement of corporate intent.
Okay. Councillor Keelan.
No.
Councillor McClellan.
Yes.
Councillor McDonald. Oh, you're sorry, you're. And I need to remember to take Councillor Coker off as well.
Put a no in there if you like.
And also we have a way of Councillor Scanner. Okay. Councillor Henstock.
No.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
The Mayor.
No.
Councillor Templeton.
Aye.
Councillor Barber.
No.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Councillor Fields.
Aye.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Councillor Donovan.
Yes.
Councillor Goff.
No.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against. So it's okay.
Resolution 7, committee requests a meeting when appropriate with the following.
No?
That can't be right.
Oh, sorry.
So,
1,
just
2,
want to do
3,
that.
4 against. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, sorry, that was 10 to 4. Okay, do we have another division paper? 9. 9, sorry, 9. Okay, so.
Gary, you've lost.
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Yeah.
Yeah, 2030.
Okay, resolution up, please.
Yeah.
Freedom. Right, here we go. Back to the yellow. Right, number 7, the committee requests the meeting when appropriate with the following.
Okay. Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Keep the yellow.
You keep the yellow.
I'm doing this one and then this one.
Councillor Johansson.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Councillor McClellan. Yes. Barber.
No.
Councillor Goff.
No.
Councillor Keane. Councillor Fields.
Yes.
The Mayor.
No.
Councillor Harrison Hunt.
Yes.
Buttons on the other side.
Councillor
Did you hear
Donovan.
me? Sorry, just checking.
Yes.
Councillor Peters.
Yes.
Councillor Hinstock.
No.
Okay, I'll do my counting correctly this time.
Aye.
Okay, so 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And against we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's
And that
correct.
is carried.
Right, and number 8,
Yeah, now the last one.
that the committee reconfirms its to work collaboratively to improve employment relations in accordance with statement of intent 24-25.
Such vote.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's reconfirming, it's just.
Yeah, I think the point he's making is, do we?
Like, you don't need divisions.
Oh, ask Aaron here.
That's one.
None of them belong here, but yeah.
You don't need a division on this one?
Not really.
Okay, all those in favour of 8 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One opposition, that's Aaron. All right, so they're all carried. Thank you very much. Well done.
Change as a result of the last hour. Yeah. Except we've probably just destabilised the whole structure we have in place as an organisation. It's all right.
You're gonna-
Hey, we do that every week.
Yanni might move an amendment to get rid of CCHL now, we don't.
Yeah.
So now we move.
That secures not selling it though, because we just